TSU head coach Eddie George, the team coming off a loss against Eastern Illinois. They're going to close the season. They'll be at home. They'll host Tennessee Tech in-state rivalry game there. So, coach, some thoughts on your team, and we'll go to some questions.
Yeah, disappointing loss again at Eastern Illinois. Dug ourselves in a hole earlier on, fought our way out of it, found our way to finally get the lead. Was 17-14, and some mistakes down the back end of the game. The muffled punt, or the punt that was fumbled, was the turning point in the game. Gave them a short field, and they kind of leaned on us and found a way to victory. So, again, we were snake bitten 2 weeks in a row by turnovers and poor mistakes in the back end of the a game where we could have pulled out a victory. And that's kind of where we are right now as a team is trying to figure out how to win those type of games against good football teams on the road. And we want to carry that into the offseason. It's something that a point of emphasis as we look to improve. But certainly, just the last 2 weeks have been disappointing. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm encouraged by the future for Tennessee State and where we're headed in our recruiting, and just trying to finish off the season strong against a formidable opponent and Tennessee Tech.
Thanks, Coach. We'll go to some questions. Mike, let's see if we can hear you. Go ahead with your question.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I got you, Mike.
Okay, good. Eddie, considering Tennessee Tech's last two outcomes, which were drastically different, each one of them, how difficult it is it to prepare for this team? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses?
Well, I'll tell you what, when you pop the tape on, the one thing that sticks out to me is that these guys play hard. I looked at them in the third quarter of last week's game. They're down 35-0, and their defense is still playing as if there is a championship on the line. They've made some mishaps last week. They let off some explosives against Gardner-Webb, and really did a nice job consistently stopping them. But they gave up some big plays defensively, which was uncharacteristic for them. And they had 2 pick sixes. That was the difference in the ball game. So you don't look at the scoreboard and say, "Hey, this is a bad football team." They just didn't have the ball bounce their way. Well coached, very physical on defense. They fly around. Change that quarterback position. Potts is a really good quarterback, good young quarterback who looked like a freshman last week against them. And I think he'll learn from that. But for the most part, they're well coached, they're physical, and they play hard. Again, you don't see a 3-win team late in November playing as hard as they do. Typically, you'll see a team just kind of looking for a way to get out of it and just want to tap it. But these guys enjoy playing. They compete hard, and it's going to be a great test for us, and something that I look forward to seeing how our team will respond to that. That no one's going to give you anything, and we've got to go out and earn every victory, every yard, and we want to play 4 quarters of football. Although we don't have a postseason to look forward to, we still have a pride that we rely on in terms of how we play ball and how we prepare each and every week.
Speaking of that pride and finishing up the season, how do you expect your 2 quarterbacks? I know that Bryant can't come back next year, and I don't know if Draylen Ellis has told you anything yet, but if this is their last games, do you expect some kind of motivation out of those 2 guys?
I would think so. Stretch, his last football game, God willing, have an opportunity to play after this. What level, I'm not sure. But this is the last time you put the pads on. Last time you have the chance to compete with your fellow teammates in the locker room, senior day. So I'm thinking the motivation is there. And for Draylen, I anticipate on having him back in the event that he doesn't come back. He still needs to put good tape out there. So I'm not concerned about their motivation or their energy. We had a really good practice in terms of that. I think they understand what's at stake, and knowing that we're playing for each other, playing for the love to compete. We're playing for the love of football. And anytime that you have a chance to play the game, you have a chance to make a statement, whether you're upcoming freshman, sophomore, and junior, you're always vying for opportunities to show why you should be on the football field. So it's always an audition. So I'm not concerned about, if those guys are going to be motivated or not. I think they will.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, Mike.
Brandon, go ahead with your questions.
All right. Good afternoon, Coach. How you doing?
How you doing, Brandon? Good, brother.
Doing well. I'm doing well. Kind of wanted to ask. I know you have said throughout the season that losses aren't just losses unless you learn something.
Yeah.
Sure. The past 2 weeks you kind of got the education you may not have wanted, but taking that into account, what has have your team learned? What have you learned about your team as you've kind of went through these two kind of unfortunate back-to-back weeks?
I warned them a couple of weeks ago that complacency will come to collect when you're successful. And when you begin to overlook all the things that got you to this point, all the small things, like being on time, wearing the right stuff, going to study hall, no hats in the building, all the small things that you pay attention to, you can't sweep that under the rug. Not that it's all based on that, but it's small things that led to those losses. We fell behind on the road, fought and clawed our way back into it. And it was a penalty that knocked us out of a situation where we were in 3rd and 1. In the very next play, we fumble, scoop, all the way down to there in the end zone or the end of the field, and they wind up scoring going up. And then last week, same situation, down 14, short field, both situations, and we fight our way back, tie it up, we're up, and with momentum, get the ball back and fumble. So it's a matter of understanding the situation, understanding that you have to be mindful of ball security, of having poise, of staying engaged in the game. And we've made some strides from 2 years ago till now. We're in a lot of these ball games. We're competing. We're not, fighting from behind, and we're not getting blown out. We are competing. We're very competitive in these games. So as a coach, it shows me that, hey, I still got some recruiting to do. There's still some areas I got to improve on, especially in our return game, especially more consistency out of our punter. Those areas we've got to improve on, because it's about field position game, especially in the OBC. You've got to win field position. You got to win time of possession. You have to be able to run the football effectively and efficient. And that's what I've learned, and that's what we're seeing. And I think the team sees where we're at, that we have to grind a little bit more. We've crossed that threshold into being a good football team. Now we have to cross yet another threshold to go from good to elite. And that's all the things that don't require talent. That's culture, that's talent, and marrying that beautifully, that we have to do this offseason, and really building our leadership and locker room and so forth. So that's what I've learned. And unfortunately, from week to week, that what you have to do, but sometimes it's not executed in those situations. And I'm pretty sure the guys understand that, hey, this is not a game where we're just is a regular, like a preseason game in the NFL where we're going to just rotate players. No, we're trying to win. We're trying to go out there and win and finish up the season strong.
Okay. And then just a quick follow-up, like I said, with even despite the 2 losses overall, in terms of your record with 6 wins and with the opportunity to have 7, you've touched on it even on this call about the progress that you've made and the program starting to turn the corner. It may be a little too early to ask this question since there's still a game to go, but as you look back over the season, how would you describe it?
Wow, again, we've made a lot of progress. Got off to a really good start. I think we've learned a lot from our earlier mistakes in the year. I've noticed that during my time here that we're a team that plays really well in October, starting to be a better team in September, but we're not a strong finisher in November. And that has A lot to do with our focus, but also just the small things in terms of nutrition. I think having a training table would help a lot in terms of our energy. It's not what we eat on Friday nights, but how you eat Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That matters. And you're not filling your body up with the right stuff, the right nutrients, that over time, that wears down on you. And it's a small thing, but small things tell big stories. So we don't necessarily have the energy yet to be an elite football team that we can be in November, because that matters. So addressing the nutrition part is something that's a high priority for me. It's not so much the development. I think we have a great strength and conditioning coach program, but along with that strength and conditioning, it's recovery, it's rest, and recuperation. And that's where you see your biggest gains in the recovery stage in the nutrition side. So we can't overlook that. So I've got to tap into some major resources to help us find out what that is so we can be more consistent with that throughout the course of the season. I look at all that. That's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm still in season. Pretty sure over the holidays, and as I look at the various bowl games, schematically where we have to go, where we have to building out this roster, the next steps for us as an offense. What does that look like? How do we evolve? How do we become more efficient? Defensively, the same thing. And certainly, with our special teams being complementary football, thinking about the spring and so forth. So just my mind is at that phase now of how do I get better as a head coach, and how do we get better as a program?
All right. Well, appreciate that, Coach, and wishing you good luck. Looking forward to the matchup this weekend. We'll see you on Saturday.
All right, Brandon. Thank you, brother.
All right.
Coach, thanks for your time, not only this morning, but all season long. Appreciate it. And best of luck to your team this weekend.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. God bless.